The sea was calm that morning. Not a ripple disturbed the steel blue surface of the Philippine Sea, a vast canvas stretching from horizon to horizon, silent, still, deceptive. Overhead, the sky was cloudless, its clarity offering no hint of the chaos about to unfold beneath it. But within that stillness, history twisted. In our timeline, the Yamato and Musashi, the Imperial Japanese Navy's leviathans, sailed into legend alone. Outgunned, outnumbered, and overwhelmed, their fates were sealed, not in glorious duels with rival battleships, but under the relentless weight of American carrier aircraft. It was a slow, brutal demise, one never meant for ships of their stature. But not here. In this version of history, one crucial decision changes everything. April 1945. Instead of Operation Tengo's desperate dash toward Okinawa, the Imperial Japanese Navy chooses a different path, one forged in steel and ambition. With American battleships moving westward across the Pacific and the war's tide turning fast, Tokyo's high command authorizes a final gamble. Rather than sacrifice their giants to airstrikes, they would draw the enemy into the last true clash of battleships. Yamato, Musashi, two titans of steel. Awaiting them, four predators of American design: the Iowa, the New Jersey, the Missouri, the Wisconsin. Four Iowa-class battleships. Fast, powerful, lethal. This battle is what happens when titans meet. It begins with a coded transmission intercepted by American naval intelligence. Japanese surface forces are massing off the coast of Formosa, not a feint, not a convoy, but a concentrated group, escorted, reinforced, moving east. It's Yamato and Musashi, and they're not alone. Shadowed by destroyers and cruisers, they're carving a path through the Philippine Sea, not toward Okinawa, not toward a desperate suicide run, but toward the Marianas, toward the heart of American naval dominance. Fleet Admiral Chester Nimitz receives the news on Guam. For a moment, he says nothing, then he issues a simple order: deploy the Iowas. The Missouri, already present near Ulithi, sets course immediately. Iowa and Wisconsin join from the Central Pacific. The New Jersey, refit complete, steams out from Pearl Harbor. It is a convergence of steel, unlike anything the world has seen, or will ever see again. Two behemoths of Japanese might. Four streamlined avatars of American industrial power, each with its own soul, its own scars, its own crew of men with fears and families and reasons to fight. The ocean waits. Yamato leads the formation, her tower-like superstructure casting long shadows at dawn. At 72,000 tons fully loaded, she is the largest battleship ever built. Her armor is nearly impenetrable. Her guns, 18-inch monsters, are capable of hurling a shell the size of a car over 25 miles. Musashi, just behind her, mirrors her in every detail. Twin colossi, each with a name rooted in Japanese history, each a floating fortress, a final argument of empire. Their orders are simple: find the Americans, destroy their pride. Buy Japan time with blood and steel. They know it's suicide, but it is honorable suicide. It is a warrior's death. Across the sea, the Iowa-class battleships slice through open water, their sleek hulls built for speed and range. At over 30 knots, they are faster than anything of their class, and their fire control systems, radar-guided, precise, are the pinnacle of American wartime innovation. The Missouri carries a new crew of veterans and rookies. Among them, a young gunnery officer named Collins, just 24, reads briefing notes with trembling hands. His grandfather once fought in the Spanish-American War. Now it's his turn to watch history turn its gears. By the third day, reconnaissance reports confirm it: visual contact near the Bashi Channel. 6 Japanese ships closing fast. No carriers, no planes, just guns. And so, for the first time in human history, and the last, the most powerful battleships ever built will face each other directly, with nothing between them but steel, ocean, and will. The sea changes color with the mood of its masters. Storm clouds boil on the western horizon, drawn like vultures to death. Wind picks up. Waves grow taller. The radio crackles. Orders move like breath down the chain of command. Battle stations. Aboard Yamato, Captain Aruga grips the cold brass of the bridge railing. He says nothing, only nods. His officers know there will be no retreat. On the Missouri, Admiral Spruance watches the plot unfold. 4 American battleships in a tight line ahead. They will flank, they will box. They will test whether raw armor can defeat accuracy and fire control. At 25 miles, radar contact is locked. At 22, Yamato opens fire. A deep, thunderous bellow erupts across the sea as her main guns unleash their fury. The shells arc high, mountains of steel hurtling toward a distant foe. The battle has begun, and the world holds. Because this is not just a clash of ships, it is a collision of eras, of empires, of belief, and only one will emerge from the storm. The first salvo misses. Yamato's shells land with monstrous splashes, geysers of water rising like ghostly towers into the sky. But they are close, too close. The Missouri's bridge shudders as seawater crashes down over the decks. Inside her fire control room, voices remain calm, calculated. The Americans do not fire blind. They fire knowing. Solution locked. All batteries, fire. Missouri answers. Then Iowa, then New Jersey, then Wisconsin. 4 American warships, each with 9 16-inch guns, release a synchronized thunder that rolls across the Pacific like an earthquake in the ocean's bones. Their shells do not arc high like Yamato's. They follow flatter, faster trajectories, guided by radar and calculated by analog computers humming below decks with unshakable precision. The sky becomes a dome of sound and fire. Musashi is the first to be hit. 2 shells slam into her forward deck, one detonating near turret number 1, the other piercing deep before exploding just above the citadel. Men scream, bulkheads warp, smoke erupts into the morning light, but she keeps coming because Musashi was not built to flinch. Neither was Yamato. She shifts slightly, adjusts her bearing, fires again. This time, Iowa feels it. A shell lands just 20 meters off the bow. Another lands closer, tearing through a forward crane mount. A third strikes the waterline, sends a violent shockwave through the hull. Steel bends, but the ship holds. Iowa does not back down. No one does. For hours. Though it feels like years, the battle plays out not in minutes, but in exchanges. Each side probing, adjusting, daring the other to make the fatal mistake. The Americans keep their distance. Their strategy is attrition, precision, discipline, control. The Japanese close in. Their doctrine is spirit, sacrifice, ferocity. It becomes clear the Yamato and Musashi are unmatched in raw armor. Some shells bounce off, some vanish into her thick belts, but for every round they absorb, another slips through. Radar trumps brute strength. New Jersey lands a direct hit on Yamato's superstructure. Explosions tearing open a portion of her bridge tower. Officers are thrown like dolls. Blood stains the brass plating. Still, the great ship keeps firing. At one point, the Wisconsin nearly collides with a Japanese destroyer attempting to flank the American line. The cruiser Yahagi, escorting Musashi, breaks formation and fires torpedoes. 4 white lines streaking across the water. 1 hits. Missouri takes it, port side, aft. A gut punch. Damage control springs into action. Fires rage. Men crawl through smoke-filled corridors, hands pressed to torn flesh. Somewhere below, a sailor softly recites the Lord's Prayer between gritted teeth. The Missouri lists slightly, but she does not stop. Over the intercom, the captain's voice remains calm. We stay in this fight, for them, for all of them. He doesn't need to explain who them is. Everyone knows. Pearl Harbor, Midway, Leyte, Guadalcanal. The ghosts of the Pacific hang heavy in the air. This is not a battle of ships, it is a reckoning. By midday, the sky is dark with smoke. The water is littered with burning debris, life rafts, shattered turrets, twisted metal. But the 2 sides remain locked, still trading blows like giants in chains. Yamato turns slightly, revealing her full broadside. It is a maneuver of desperation and brilliance. All 9 guns fire. The shells scream across the sea, one slamming into the Wisconsin's bow, ripping open steel, lifting an entire section of deck into the air like a ribbon of molten iron. A gun crew is lost in an instant. There is silence on the Wisconsin's bridge. Then, rage. Return fire. All guns. She does. And this time, they hit something soft. A shell breaches Yamato's port engine room. Steam explodes from her hull. Power flickers. 1 turret goes dark. And suddenly, for the first time, Yamato slows. Musashi, seeing her sister's ship stumble, begins to veer closer to shield her. But she, too, is limping. Her bow is fractured. Fires rage beneath deck. Her main turret is stuck. The ocean is no longer calm, it is boiling. Twilight approaches, and with it, the final act. 4 American ships, bruised but coordinated, tighten their circle. The Japanese have given all they had, but radar-guided fire and modern tactics are grinding them down inch by inch. Aboard Yamato, Captain Aruga stands bloodied but unbowed. He looks out over the flaming horizon, his ship sinking into the sea by degrees. He whispers the old words of Bushido, of honor, of the Empire. Then, without command, Yamato's remaining crew open the magazines. She will not be captured. She will die as she lived, fearsome, proud. The explosion can be seen from 50 miles away. A pillar of fire, smoke, and shattered steel. It breaks the sky in two. The Missouri, still afloat, watches the blast through cracked glass. Silence settles. One giant is gone. Another drit. The sea is red. The war is changed. Musashi does not sink easily. She drifts in a wide arc, smoke trailing from every vent and gunport. Her once imposing hull is now torn and ragged, listing heavily to starboard. Yet impossibly, she fires again. One final salvo, 3 shells, one aimed at each heart. The Missouri, the Iowa, the Wisconsin. But it is not vengeance, it is ritual, a final gesture, a salute to the gods of war who watch indifferent from whatever heavens exist above this sea of flame. The shells fall wide. And then silence. Not the peace of calm waters, but the terrible quiet of something ancient finally ending. Aboard the New Jersey, Rear Admiral Duncan gives the order to cease fire. There is no cheer, no triumph, only breath, and the creaking of hulls. The great American ships circle the drifting Musashi slowly, like wolves around a wounded bear. Guns remain trained, but unfired. There is no glory left here, only respect. At 1840 hours, a signal lamp flashes from Musashi. 3 characters. Arigato. Thank you. Then the ship begins to list harder. Compartments flood. Her crew, what remains of them, stand on deck in rows. White uniforms, soot-stained, torn, soaked in blood and oil. They do not jump. They wait. And as the sun begins to sink into the water like a dying ember, Musashi rolls over, her massive keel exposed for just a moment. One last reminder of what humanity once built in the name of dominance. Then, she is gone, swallowed by the ocean that gave her life. The Iowas drift closer, their silhouettes black against the burning sky. Missouri lists, her hull gashed but steady. Iowa's forward deck still bleeds fire. Wisconsin's bow is shredded. New Jersey is the least scarred, but even she carries the marks of a battle that should never have happened. In the command center aboard Missouri, no one speaks. One of the junior lieutenants, barely 19, asks a question no one wants to answer. Why did they come? A long pause. Then someone answers, low and tired, because they had nothing left to lose. That night, the stars return, and in their cold light, the sea is still again. But nothing is the same. Word spreads across both fleets, across both nations. In Tokyo, the High Command receives the final reports. No carriers lost, no cruisers damaged, only the Yamato and Musashi. And yet, it is as if the empire itself has been broken open. Not from above, not by bombs, but in spirit. The battleships were never just ships. They were the soul of the old Japan, floating fortresses of pride and heritage and divine steel. Their deaths, together, in full view of the enemy, were not defeats. They were funerals. In Washington, there is confusion, then awe, then something quieter, respect. A joint memo circulates among naval brass. It simply says, "We faced the best they had. We did not win easily." The battle is never broadcast on newsreels. There is no footage, no parades, only whispered stories of a day when giants walked the sea and died with honor. In the decades that follow, the veterans gather once a year, Americans and Japanese alike. Some wear their medals, most do not. They share coffee, photos, tears, and when asked what it was like to be there, to see Yamato's guns fire, to watch Musashi sink in silence, they say the same thing. It was the end of something and the start of something else, because this battle did not win the war, but it closed a chapter of smoke and steel and empire, and opened one of memory. Years pass, ships are scrapped, flags change, cities rise from rubble, but that battle, fought with guns instead of bombs, men instead of machines, refuses to vanish into the fog of time. At the bottom of the Philippine Sea, rust blooms across Yamato's bones. Crabs crawl through shattered turrets. Musashi lies nearby, her wreckage now a reef, sheltering life in the ruins of war. And above them, the water is still blue. Children sail small boats overhead, never knowing what dreams and what nightmares rest beneath their keels. But for those who do remember, there is something sacred about that silence, a different kind of monument, one not made of marble or bronze, but of iron, fire, and the breath of those who faced each other across a killing sea and chose not to hate. For the Americans, the battle becomes a turning point, not just in the Pacific campaign, but in the soul of the Navy itself. It is the last great gunfight. After that day, the era of the battleship fades like mist at sunrise. Carriers, missiles, and machines will dominate the wars to come, but none will carry the weight of Yamato's thunder or the echo of Missouri's reply. For the Japanese, the loss is unspeakable, but strangely cleansing. In a culture that revered death with honor, the final stand of their greatest ships offers a kind of closure. Not victory, not surrender. Something else. Dignity. There's a photograph, black and white, rarely seen, of survivors from both sides meeting aboard a hospital ship days after the engagement. One man in bandages, another in uniform, both reaching out, hands shaking. The caption reads, "No more fire." And perhaps, in some deeper current of time, that handshake was worth more than all the shells fired that day. Because in that alternate history, no cities were firebombed to reach this moment. No mushroom cloud split the sky. The war ends, still painfully, still hard, but with fewer ghosts. And the world, somehow, remembers the sound of steel meeting steel, not with pride, but with reverence. In the years that follow, a legend grows. Not just of the ships, but of what they represented. For some, Yamato and Musashi were doomed from the beginning, relics of a past that refused to yield. For others, they were the purest expression of courage against impossible odds. The Iowas, too, are remembered, not just for surviving, but for how they fought. Relentlessly, precisely, without cruelty, with respect. In classrooms, naval academies teach the tactics, diagrams, battle maps, shell trajectories, but none of that captures the weight, the sound, the fear, the awe. Only the men who stood there can describe what it felt like to hear 18-inch shells scream overhead and know you were looking into the past, watching it burn itself out, one explosion at a time. Eventually, all the veterans pass on, but the ocean remains. And on clear nights, sailors swear they can still feel something in the wind as they cross the Western Pacific. A pressure, a memory, a warning. That once, long ago, the sea cracked open, and giants walked. There's a saying among sailors, the ocean never forgets. It holds memories in silence, carries echoes through salt and time, and beneath those endless waves, the final resting place of Yamato and Musashi remains untouched, undisturbed, except by the currents and the occasional hum of passing sonar. But for a few, it's more than memory. It's pilgrimage. Decades later, a Japanese marine research vessel drops anchor near the site where the Yamato was last seen. On board, a historian kneels beside a rusted fragment pulled from the seabed, jagged steel, once part of her main deck. He touches it with gloved fingers, reverently. Around him, silence. Cameras do not flash. There is no ceremony. Just history. Heavy, absolute. Later, an American veteran of the Missouri is interviewed at his nursing home, eyes faded, voice soft. But when asked about that day, his words come quickly, steady, like the rhythm of distant guns. "We didn't hate them," he says. "We feared them, respected them. We knew what they were made for, and we knew what we were risking when we met them on open water." He smiles faintly. "Still dream about it sometimes. The thunder, the sky going black." He closes his eyes. You don't forget something like that. You carry it with you, even when the world forgets. And the world does forget, eventually. Textbooks get thinner, museums move their displays to make room for newer wars, newer weapons. But sometimes, in whispers, people still ask, what if? What if the Yamato and Musashi had fulfilled their design? What if the Iowas had fallen that day? What if the Pacific had run with American blood and the tide turned again? In this story, our story, balance is kept. Victory still belongs to the Allies, but at what cost? What did it mean to win? Against men who were willing to die just to prove they were never meant to be conquered? The answer is not found in strategy, or blueprints, or hull numbers. It's found in the faces of those who served, in what they built, what they lost, and how they remembered. This was not just the last battleship duel, it was the end of a belief that war could be fought with honor and steel alone, without fire from the skies, without shadows of bombs no man can outrun. And maybe, in that final exchange, amid the thunder and smoke, something deeper was exchanged. Not hatred, not revenge, but understanding. The kind only found when equals meet with everything to lose, and everything to prove. And when the ocean goes still again, and the sky clears, and the wrecks sleep beneath the waves, there is only this: a silence loud enough to echo through history. If you felt that silence with us, if the ghosts of Yamato and Musashi stirred something in you, then maybe, like us, you still believe in stories worth telling. Stories that remind us where we've been, and what we must never repeat. Thank you for sailing with us. Stay curious. Stay watchful, and we'll meet again where history bends and the sea remembers.